Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of At the Movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and for this week's episode, I am joined by, as is quite often the case, Mr. Harry Jobson.
Hi, I'm here to spread bad opinions about beloved films.
And for this week's episode, we are going to be looking at the 2019 film Joker to tie into the release of its sequel, which will be out this week, Joker Folie 2, which we are. I mean, I don't know where you stand on this film, so maybe you're not excited, maybe you are excited. I don't know yet, so we're going to find out over the course of
Yeah,
this recording where we
yeah,
stand. Um, so did you see this film? Because I saw this film when it came out,
yeah. I
cinema.
saw it in cinemas.
Uh, so I saw
I
it,
had
and
two friends that wanted to go watch it, but I didn't care as much. But
mhm,
we all went along and watched the film. It was
yeah.
yeah,
And I saw it when it came out, and then I bought the DVD like a couple months later, and I rewatched it then. But that was like the beginning of 2020, so I haven't watched this film in like 4 years nearly. So it's like
yeah.
pretty fresh for me. So I rewatched it like earlier this afternoon, so that I'd be prepared to talk about it because I haven't seen it in so long. And I remember when I initially first watched it, I loved it. When I first saw it, I thought it was like an amazing film. I loved it. 5 years later, I don't think it's that amazing anymore.
Thank you,
I think
thank
it's.
you. Yeah,
I take from that you're not a big fan either.
I'm not. I'm
Um,
not a like a. When I watched it in cinemas, I thought, yeah, that was good. But that I think that was because contextually, when it comes to sort of DC fiction, you either had the CW like Arrowverse, or you
yeah.
had
Mhm.
whatever the fuck the Justice League was, and the terrible
Yeah,
Suicide
what
Squad films at the time as well. Like the
the
21 Pilots,
DCEU.
Suicide Squad, like
Yeah.
no, so this film was like a really great breath of fresh air, especially for what seemed like a really flanderized superhero space at the
Yeah.
time. But
Yeah.
I think largely it's been ruined by internet meme culture, but not ruined, more so just given like a, oh, that is kind of cringy.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when this film first came out, it premiered at the Venice Film Festival in 2019. It came out, received massive praise, won the Golden Lion, which is the big prize at the Venice Film Festival, hailed as a complete and utter masterpiece. Then it came out properly, and more people were seeing it, and there was some people who said, okay, it's not that good. It's I mean, this is a film that, yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm gonna sound far more negative on this film than I actually am as we go through this. And I wanna sort of put out first that I do like the film just about,
It's just
but
overrated.
there are a lot of problems with it, and I'm just looking now. It's currently number 83 on IMDb's top 250 of all time, which is insanity because it's not that good.
That's insane. I don't know if it's in the top 250.
Yeah, I don't think I mean, like it's ahead of. It's just in terms of other films, it's ahead of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, The Hunt, Reservoir Dogs, North by Northwest, Citizen Kane, Oppenheimer, Full Metal Jacket, Clockwork Orange, Die Hard, Indiana Jones 3, 19, like so many. Taxi Driver. It's ahead of Taxi
It's
Driver.
a.
And I just want to say that,
This film was like heavily okay.
yeah, I mean, since I just mentioned Taxi Driver, do we just want to talk about how this film is basically just Taxi Driver
It's
and
Taxi
the King
Driver,
of
but with
Comedy?
DC. Yeah, it's just Taxi
Yeah,
Driver, the King of Comedy, but with DC characters.
yeah, and it's
And
insane because I hadn't seen those films at the time, but I have seen those films since, and it is just taking those elements, like they didn't like the filmmakers. They didn't get why Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy work as films. Um,
Yeah.
it was a very superficial take of those films, and this film, I think when you watching this is the kind of film where it's like the people who like it and are like, oh, like Joker is a literally me character for a certain group of people.
Yeah, dude. You know what you get when you cross mentally ill? No, it's okay.
Yeah, and it's so yeah, and it's like this isn't, and it does concern me when people look at the Joker as like this. He's like, oh, he's it's like people who idolize Tyler Durden from Fight Club. You
Or
know, it's like
Patrick
it's that
Bateman.
kind of thing, or Patrick Bateman, or Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street. It's like, no, you just don't get this.
It's part of it really
Um,
sort of slid its way into film bro culture because that's a lot of what it is.
yeah, it really did, and like, look, I think I've certainly got taste that might be considered film bro culture. Like, I love Fight Club. I think Fight Club's a great film. I like American Psycho. I like a lot of film broy
Yeah.
films,
Yeah, but
but
that's
like,
fine. I mean, I think the biggest problem with
yeah.
film bro films is like it is that you become borderline obsessed with being that character.
Mhm.
It's the same
Yeah.
in like people that listen to hip hop. Well, I'm gonna say hip hop like a white guy. People that listen to like rap and
Mhm.
go, "That's how I have to be. I have to be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, man. I got to be like." I'm trying to think of some negative hip hop people at the moment, and currently it's not. I'm not going to say Diddy, no, but I have to be like, oh, this gangster or this hard eshe or this act
Yeah.
like I'm from the streets and stuff. When it's like, or yeah, it's these people that like are struggling for like an identity, so they cling to
Yeah, yeah.
characters.
Yeah, and, that's obviously not healthy, and you shouldn't do that. I think, yeah, this film, it was a massive hit, to, yeah, with certain groups of people, uh, and I don't wanna make the implication that everybody who loves this film idolizes the Joker. Because I don't, that's not true. I don't think that's fair. I don't wanna make that claim because I can believe
No,
there are
of
people
course
who
not.
love this film and don't idolize with the character, and that's fine. I just think there is some crossover in people who idolize the Joker and people who love this film. There is some crossover there.
Oh, I can appreciate performances and
Yeah, no,
stuff,
yeah,
and like, who doesn't love a good Robert De Niro or a
yeah,
Brian Tyree Henry or a
mm,
Joaquin Phoenix? But like,
yeah,
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
yeah,
Not everyone who appreciates this film for what's good about it is an obnoxious, like, adaptive, like, I'm so mentally ill, I'm the Joker. Like,
yeah,
literally me, society's against me. But it is the
yeah.
loud majority online.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
exactly. It's a very loud group of people, and when people are like, "Oh, yeah, this cat is literally me," and society treats me badly, and it falls into this whole. I mean, this is a film that sort of tackles mental illness, but I think the problem with it is Arthur Fleck, Joaquin Phoenix's character, is mentally ill, and so his response to that and society treating him badly is to start an uprising that results in people
in,
getting killed
inciting
and
violence.
inciting violence. And it's like that's not how you do this. That's not how this works. There are plenty of people with mental who are mentally ill and have mental health issues and don't become
The Joker.
murderers and who don't become, yeah, like I guarantee, like, I know people who have mental health issues. They suffer from depression or anxiety or a wide array of things. And not once have they ever said to me, "Hey, you know what we should do? We should kill the rich." Like it's not this that
I know
it's like
so
it's
many
they don't.
people like that though, and it's insane. so many people that are like, oh, we need to eat the rich, we need to kill the rich and take all their money, and it's like, or like, get over it. I don't know. Like, I
And I
mean,
find,
yeah. I think if anything, it glorifies an unhealthy mental space, and
yes, I want to touch on that. I think because there are discussions that should be had about mental illness, like I think that's completely reasonable, and I think even doing that with a Joker film, I think that works. I think using a character like the Joker to explore that, I think is not a bad idea. I think there's a lot to play with there. It's just that the way the film goes about doing so, it portrays it as if it's society's fault. Like Arthur doesn't take any none of the bad things that happen is like his fault almost. Like he portrays it
he's a
as
victim.
he's the victim and he's been pushed into this. And like, look, he is a victim in some cases. You know, he gets the shit kicked out of him at a couple points in the film, but that doesn't justify, in my opinion, going and murdering people. You know, I think I will say the train sequence where he like first kills people, that one I can kind of excuse, like the because it's self
In a
defense.
borderline self defense, yeah.
Yes,
Like,
that first one I can justify to a degree. Although when he chases after that third guy and shoots him, that's not that I can't
oh, then
justify
you
because
see
that
an
is
active break in his psyche as a character. You see him go
yeah.
from like there's self defense, and then there's taking that opportunity of self defense to
Yeah,
an extreme and going, okay,
yeah,
well, I'm going to use this opportunity to kill these three individuals, which is like,
yeah,
especially the last one, that was quite grim. And then
yeah. When
dance,
he's the
dance,
guy's
and
like trying to
steps.
crawl up the stairs and he just point blank just unloads on him, and it's just like that's not. Yeah, you can't justify that. That's pure. It's cold blooded murder. Is what that is. Like that is straight
Mm.
up
Yeah.
just going out of his way to kill someone. And I think the film because Arthur, I feel like we're meant to find. I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but I feel like we the film sort of feels conflicted. Unlike, is it? Am I meant to like Arthur as a character? Is he meant to be a likable character? Because he doesn't come across, but the way the film is put together, I
It's
feel
as if he
like
should
is
be.
trying to say that he is. I don't. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, the tone definitely is set around Arthur being, if anything, an anti-hero. And it was, which he's not. He's straight up a villain, and we've known this from all Jokers in the past.
Mhm,
But and Joaquin Phoenix does an amazing job. I think he does
mhm,
actually quite a good job within the role. But when you're portraying to an audience, it comes down to the tone. But when you're portraying to the audience that, yeah, this guy, he literally revels in his violence, like
yes.
dancing and spinning, and he always gets out of it, and he always gets away, as if
Mhm,
that's glorified by the film. They quite
mhm,
literally give him the spotlight and let him dance in it, and
yeah.
it isn't like I'm seeing. It, It's like the Venom films in a weird way. Oh, obviously Venom is like way more satirical, like
Yeah.
Tom Hardy having fun, but it's a villain, and they keep trying to make these villains the protagonist, anti-heroes of their own films when really they're just villains. Like, there's a reason.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's always going to be motive, but the Joker is not only one, a mentally ill individual, but two, a bad person, not because of his mental illness, but he
Mhm.
uses that, and this film uses that as an excuse for him to be a bad, like, kill people. Like, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous, but they always shine that
Yeah.
spotlight and let him revel in it as if we're supposed to go, yeah, he got away with it. And it's like,
Yeah.
what? Or a righteous
Yeah.
moment when he shoot, like it's a full circle moment for him when, spoiler alert, he shoots
Mhm.
Murray, No, when he shoots Murray, it's almost set up as this like grandiose moment that he goes and it builds to that and he burn, and that's like
Mhm.
his arc. As if that isn't a horrific thing that is like an incredible downfall for his character. Like we're literally
Yeah,
watching the
yeah,
active descent of someone who started as just a mentally ill individual who didn't have a lot going for him and was actively struggling
yeah.
to a spiral descent into madness.
Yeah, but it never portrays it as like a bad thing. Like it's not a
No,
tragic
it builds it
story.
up to a heroic moment almost.
Yeah, like the moment towards the end of the film where he's like in the car and he's like got the blood all over his mouth and he like makes the smile with the blood. It's like and like the music is like trying to tell you like this is the big
This is
moment at the end of
awesome.
this
Look at how
film.
cool this is, and it's like
Yeah, and it's
no,
just like no, this isn't. Yeah,
no.
it's this weird yeah, because it's like I don't yeah, like don't get me wrong, I don't hate this film or anything. I think there's a lot that I like about it. It just I d- I know I like it feels like it's trying to say one thing and it's doing the exact opposite thing to achieve that effect. Like it's trying
Yeah.
to say this film is about this, but the way it's portraying it is sort of
And do you know where that
subconsciously
influence comes
telling me.
from?
I mean,
That
it's
influence comes directly from Taxi Driver, right?
yeah,
Like,
it's just Taxi Drive. Yeah, the Taxi Drive. I mean, a lot of this film is like just it's completely taxi. It's just Taxi Driver and the King of Comedy. Like that's exactly
yeah,
what this film is, and it's I yeah, and I think I mean since we're sort of on sort of the film in a sort of general sense, I do want to talk about Todd Phillips, the director and one of the writers of the film. This is a very odd film for him to make in the sense that, from my understanding, he kind of just is. I mean, he did the Hangover films, which not seen,
yeah,
but they're
he did the
very
Hangover films and the
um
very sort
uh,
of slapstick, like, um, didn't he do? Was it Euro Trip or Road Trip or one of those sort of
that sounds familiar. That sounds familiar. So I'm just getting his filmography up because that does Road Trip. Yeah,
Road
he did
Trip?
Road
Okay,
Trip. Yeah, he did War Dogs as well.
he
He
did
has a
that Ben Stiller buddy cop comedy, Starsky and
uh,
Hutch.
oh yeah, Starsky and Hutch. He's an
Yeah,
uncredited writer on Borat. He was like involved in Borat. And apparently, what happened during Borat was he was like involved in Borat. Got and then you've seen Borat, right?
yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, apparently Todd Phillips he was like he was the director. He was going to be directing Borat. But then he left production after the rodeo scene. If you remember the rodeo scene from Borat.
That's fair. Glorious
So yeah,
nation, Kazakhstan. Glorious.
yeah, yeah. So Todd Phillips left the production of the film after that. He also clashed with Sacha Baron Cohen's vision for what he wanted the story to be in. To be honest, I understand why Sacha Baron Cohen, had a specific vision because it is like it is his character is Borat. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so yeah, Todd Phillips. I don't like Todd Phillips as just like a guy. He's a very he comes across very poorly in interviews and everything I've seen him in. He he said he stopped making comedy films because of sort of woke culture, which I think is a ridiculous thing to
Lame.
say
That's so
because it's
lame.
like how is there even like if woke culture is ruining comedy, how is there even a comedic industry? Like how can people still make comedies now? And we've had some of the best comedy made in like the last 10 years. Like there's been some phenomenal comedy films and TV shows made, within the last 10 years. And I think he sort of seems like he's that kind of guy who his what he likes about comedy is just punching down and just being really mean spirited. And then people are like, oh mate, that's a bit out of, like, he's the kind of guy who would make a joke being like, where the joke is just calling someone gay or something, or calling someone a queer, like, it's sort of, that's the kind of comedy that I feel like he gives that vibe of, that's the comedy he makes. I've not seen the Hangover film, so I'm could be completely talking out of turn. But he just screams like he's that kind of guy who he made
Little bit out of
comedy.
turn. The Hangover films are almost pretty like. Well, I mean, the first one's good, and then the rest are weird, but they're pretty sort of ridiculous and character driven, but largely ridiculous. Like,
Yeah,
it's not as much. It is bro, but it's not like it's not bro in the same sense that like Step Brothers is like bro.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, but yeah, and yeah, Todd Phillips. He's anti-union, which is very just a bit off
Weird.
as well. To be honest, I think that's very bad.
Red flag.
I mean, anyone who's anti-union, I think, is automatically a bit of a prick. Because unions are a good thing. And he's also, I don't know if you've seen any of the comments he's made about the new Joker film. I don't know if you've seen any of the comments he's made. I mean, do you know anything
No,
about this?
I know
He
that it's
basically,
going to have Harley Quinn,
hmm,
and that's it.
that's it. Okay, well,
And
I
to
won't
Lady
say
Gaga.
anything
Yeah.
else then. I guess if you don't, um,
Well, I'm not.
uh,
I'll be honest. This isn't something that I'm sitting on the edge of my seat for. Like,
okay.
I haven't been actively avoiding the information. It just hasn't come across my desk.
Yeah. Well, he's basically, I don't. Well, yeah. So it's, well. Actually, I'll talk about it more at the end. But Todd Phillips has just made some comments about it that just make me think he's not a very intelligent guy. Um, but I think it is interesting that he was sort of brought on to direct this film because, I mean, like I said, he's a sort of a comedy guy more than anything. He doesn't
Given the
scream,
resume, yeah.
this is the guy we're going to give to, give the character study, because that's what this film is. This film is a character study, and I think there's a lot to play with in terms of doing a character study for a comic book character. I guess the question is, can you do it with the Joker?
Absolutely, you
Like
can, and I feel like this was a certain approach, but I feel like it was the wrong approach.
mhm. I think that
That
the thing that I love about the Joker as a character is I like that you don't actually really know his backstory. Like in The Dark Knight, for example, is I'm just admit it, what I'm pulling to is Heath Ledger's. We
yeah,
don't
well,
really
you're not
get
going to
a
go to
we don't
Jared
really
Leto.
get yeah, we don't, but we don't really get an idea of who Heath Ledger's Joker is, because he sort of tells us different things of how he, got the scars and everything, and we don't get a definitive answer as to who the guy is, and I think that's good, and I like that we don't get, because we don't, not everything needs a backstory, and I think this
Yeah,
film, um,
yeah, but
I mean, yeah, I just want to say we'll get into it a bit more later on, but I cannot stand elements of this film towards the ending. Like
I
I
just
won't go
in the
into them now,
victim.
but there
I
are
like
elements of the ending I don't like at all. But I'll talk about that when we get to the end.
yeah. For me personally, when it comes down to sort of the study of the character study of the Joker,
Mhm.
I I look to the Dark Knight as a pretty good example of I think how the Joker. Obviously, the Joker is borderline insane, but
Mhm.
making him the victim takes away from the fact that he is insane. Like
Mhm. Yeah,
victimizing the Joker and giving him the but he's just a poor soul
yeah,
takes away from what we built up and the what is arguably seen as the best Joker, besides let's say like a Mark Hamill, is
yeah,
that in the Dark Knight the Joker is smarter than everyone, and he knows he's insane,
yeah,
but he's smarter. He has a deep understanding of how high the corruption goes and how to manipulate an individual.
Yeah.
And wherever that stems from, and you could do a character study about that, and that would be quite cool. But you would need him to be someone who, like, maybe was a high achieving university student, maybe even was, I believe, a sociopathic person. I don't think the Joker is hated outside of the Joker. If you take the character of Arthur Fleck, instead of being
Mhm.
everyone kicks him while he's down, so he rebels and uprises, he should have been
Mhm.
someone who was part of a large social group but had no emotion, just borderline sociopathic, like was mimicking what he knew and manipulating others to be able to get the desired outcome, and would just slowly descend further and further into his madness as a sick
Mhm.
individual. That would have been the character study I would have gone for. Not like, obviously it works here, but I feel like when you make him the victim, it makes
It takes
the
away
Joker
from the
seem
character.
way more like a pussy, which is not like in a PC way to put it, but it absolutely destroys what the Joker is within the comics and the pretty much lore of the DC, or the Joker, Batman, Gotham
Yeah.
verse. I don't know what you want to call it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how are you? Because we've talked about a lot of Marvel superheroes on the podcast before. Like, where do you stand with DC, sort of as a
Bat.
general?
This might be a spoiler if we ever do an episode on Batman, but
Mhm.
um, I like Superman. I love the Flash. I was big into the CW show, and I always thought the Flash was quite an interesting character. Um,
Mhm.
but Batman to me is the most overrated, overhyped, dumbest superhero of all time. And I understand that's my opinion, but I like Shazam. I
I
like
think
that
we've
film.
talked about this
But
before. To be honest,
yeah, we
this
have.
sounds.
Or at least I've ranted to you before about it. But I just feel as if, and I expressed this before, I think that the whole sort of city of Gotham and everything is corny and lame and dumb. As if you wouldn't like. I'm sorry, but I understand he has a contingency plan and stuff. And don't get me going on Batman, but like, it's just not. It's just not like it's not. He's not a. Anyway. He's just a guy. Like, at the end of the day, I don't care what people say. Like, Superman claps his cheeks 1 million times over. But outside of that, I feel like the Joker is a perfect foil because they are just two. If you see Batman as a mentally ill individual, which you should, then it's just kind of like one mentally ill guy dressing up in a suit versus another mentally ill guy dressing up in a clown costume, fighting, and everyone around them is the victim. Like,
Hmm.
they're not the victim. Yeah, so I find it like a weird. There's a weird parallel between the characters, whereas they are quite similar, and it's sort of discussed in The Dark Knight as well. But I always liked the Joker as a villain. I think he's one of the greatest villains of all time because there is
Mhm.
very little to no redeeming qualities about him, besides
Mhm.
the fact like that he's intelligent. But other than that,
Mhm.
he's an out and out villain, and this tries to humanize him, and it ruins what makes him like one of the best fictional villains of all time. You have you have Iago, you have Darth
Mhm.
Vader, you have the Joker. Like, these are some of the greatest villains of all time. And could you imagine if they made a film about? Well, they kind of did. It's called the Star Wars prequels. But could could you imagine if they made a film about, like, I don't know, what's one of the great villains all time?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think of other iconic, beloved villains. People love Voldemort.
Yeah. Could you imagine in Harry Potter? Right, I'm a big fan of Harry Potter. I've read the novels; they're great books. If Could you imagine, he is a sick individual who is scared of death and does everything to avoid that, but he's sick in the sense that he will stop at nothing to avoid that, including literally killing babies. So if we don't, could you imagine if they made like another, let's say they made another film set in the Harry Potter universe, and it was all about, well, actually, he's scared of death because of this, and he doesn't actually want to, and he's dealing with a lot inside, and I feel like we should all just feel for him and give him his glory. Like, no, I don't know, it that's my biggest gripe with this film is that it actively ruins the Joker as an overall character.
Hmm.
It's a good standalone film, but if you take it into the context of what the Joker is as a character, I feel like it's overall detrimental to the character. And when people say this is the best Joker, they're insane.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about Joaquin's performance now that we're here. I think Joaquin Phoenix is a really good actor. I think he's very good. I I don't think this is that amazing a portrayal of the Joker. I would easily take Heath Ledger's Joker. I would easily take Mark Hamill's Joker. I might even take Jack Nicholson's Joker over Joaquin Phoenix. And I know that I mean, this was when this film came out. Everybody said Joaquin was great. He deserves the Oscar, which he did eventually end up winning, which I don't think he should have won, but that's besides the point. I think that, yeah, look, it's a good performance. I want to say this straight up. Joaquin gives a good performance in this film as the Joker, but it's not that amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you're. I agree completely. I don't think he like. It's a good performance for what he's given. He does well in the role,
Yeah.
but I could see other actors doing just as well or better.
Well, this
And
is
that's
it.
nothing
Yeah.
against Joaquin Phoenix. It's just what he's been given. The sort of like, could you imagine Oscar Isaac? Look what he
Mm.
did with the character in Moon Knight. Could you imagine him in that role? That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that wouldn't be. I don't think that could be too
Willem
bad. Yeah,
Dafoe? Are we talking Willem Dafoe?
I mean Willem Dafoe. I think Willem Dafoe.
Is a
The thing with
dream
Willem
Joker
Dafoe is
person.
he'd almost be too good, and it'd just be like, well, we can never do. I mean, to be fair, I would have said the exact same thing about Heath Ledger, and it's like we can't do the Joker anymore now that Heath Ledger, because Heath Ledger for me is the best version of the Joker. If you
Yeah, I agree.
if you ask me. So it is kind of like it's hard to because the thing is, I think the Joker isn't that difficult a character to play in the sort of general sense, in the sense of like you just need to go out and just have fun. Like you there's a like it's I don't think it's that difficult a role to play in the sense of I don't really think many actors uh like, it's not a role that I don't think many actors couldn't do. Like, I think many actors could probably do
Yeah.
a good job in the role, and it's not. Um, and I don't see it as like a role that only certain actors can do. I think it's a role that most actors could probably do a decent job in, if not better. You know?
Yeah. No, I agree. I feel as if it's quite an adaptable role. It's written pretty openly for anyone.
Mhm.
And yeah, I don't think this is Joaquin's Oscar winning performance. Like, I just don't.
No, definitely not. Um, I mean, I think this film, though, besides Joaquin Phoenix, a lot of the actors, like, there's some really great actors here, and they feel kind of underutilized. Like, it feels like the film only really cares about Joaquin Phoenix. And I get that it's a character study and everything, but, like, you've got Robert De Niro in there, who is, like, Robert De Niro is a phenomenal actor. Like I think Robert De Niro is one of the greatest actors of all time. And he's not really given a whole lot to do. You know, you've got Brian Tyree
No,
Henry, who I'm a
he's freaking he plays Jimmy Fallon. Like, what are we talking about? Like, it's such a it's so underutilized, especially when this film, and we've talked about it before, is entirely based off Taxi Driver. It is such a
Oh
shame that
god,
you've
yeah.
underutilized Robert De Niro within this
Yeah, I
film.
mean that's why De Niro's here, is it's because of the Taxi Driver and King of
It's
Comedy
like,
connection.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a little
like
nod.
Todd Phillips thinks he's so clever. He's like, look, I got this guy. He was in these films that I'm that I'm paying homage to. I'm definitely not copying them. I'm just paying some homage to these films
Oh,
that
it's
I love.
inspired, not ripped off.
Yeah, inspired. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, not only you've got Robert De Niro, you've got Brian Tyree Henry, who's a great actor, who I'm a big fan of from Atlanta and the like. Zazie Beetz, also from Atlanta, is really underutilized, even though she's a very good actor. Got Mark Maron in there, who I like relatively so. Like, it's so many really solid actors who are just not utilized that well. It's like you could do so much more with these actors, and you've just got them there for like, why are you casting these actors if you aren't going to utilize them? Just get some unknowns. Like, who cares? I'd
Yeah.
rather they just get some unknown actors, because seeing
Or at least
names like
someone we
Robert
want to
De
see
Niro
shot
in
in the
there.
head. Like,
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing too. Is like Robert De Niro, the way the film's made is it is trying to sort of tell me that Robert De Niro is a guy who deserves to be killed. Like, that's what
yeah.
happens, and like he's a bit of a dick. He makes fun of someone, but it's also like that's just sort of what late night TV show hosts do. They make jokes. It's the point. I think if you can't take a joke at your expense, I think, and that's the thing too, is it is Arthur's character. He loves making jokes and making fun of other people, but he cannot take it. Like, he gets so upset when Murray starts making jokes at him, like, oh, about him, and then Arthur makes which I did find kind of funny, where he's like, it's like, knock knock, who's there? It's the policeman. Your son was just hit by a drunk driver. He's dead. And I'm just like, come on, like, it's really it's a stupid joke, but I don't know what, it's just because it's so weird. It's funny, but it's like, it's not. I don't know
It's
why.
incredibly out of pocket. Yeah.
It's yeah. That's I think that's why it's funny more than anything. Is it's just such a weird thing, and yeah, this film just it's so weird because it just feels like Todd Phillips is writing lots of things he thinks into this film, like the whole idea of you can't make jokes anymore, like that. Like, that's more or less a thing Arthur says when he's on Murray's
Oh, it's
show.
such a woke culture whinge. You know, one thing I hate more than like people that like than I hate more than like I guess current woke culture, which I really don't care about. I hate people that freaking whinge about it. People that go, "Oh, you can't do it because the world's too woke now." It's like, shut up.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Such a weird. It's like literally, like, again, to just look at the land of comedy. Like, a few years ago, Taika Waititi won an Oscar for a film about Hitler.
Yeah,
He
that was
made a
that is
comedy
a
where
great film. It's a
he literally made a film where a kid's imaginary best friend was Hitler as a comedy, and it was incredibly beloved. Like, I don't. It's not a valid complaint to make about. It's just such a weird thing. It's just, and Todd Phillips. It's sort of, it always feels like he's taking this holier than thou. I understand what the regular people,
actually
uh,
Jojo
you
Rabbit
know
came out the same year in 2019.
yeah, it came out the exact same year, and got an Oscar. Not got a won an Oscar for screenplay. Like, it. So people clearly don't have problems with edgy humor if a film about Hitler can win. It's a comedy about Hitler can win. I just think it's this weird thing, and it's so weird that this kind of film is being made by, like, trying to be like, oh, I speak for the normal, the everyday Joes, and it's like, I just looking it up. Todd Phillips is worth $200 million. Like, he's not an average Joe, you know. Like, he's a very well off rich guy, you know.
Yeah, it. Yeah, it. I fully agree with what you're saying. It does, and that's some of the negatives of the film. But if we get into like some of the positives of the film, I
Yeah,
feel like
we should get into some positives, because we've been complaining a lot, but there are some things I like. I want to say that I do like some
yeah,
elements of this film. What was an
uh,
element you wanted to talk about?
sort of a lot of the performances from the supporting cast. I
Hmm.
think that there were sort of smaller, and I hate saying smaller roles as if it's any less important, but people like Zazie Beats.
Hmm.
I feel like she did a really for what you are given in the role, does a good job. I think
Yeah.
tonally, it's one of the more realistic Gothams we've ever seen, and I think that again given to us
Hmm.
from the portrayal of New York in Taxi Driver. Um,
Hmm.
I, I believe a lot of sort of the yeah, I feel like mostly sort of the environment that it creates for Gotham is quite good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, Zazie Beet's performance, she did a good job. I really like some of the stylization that's given to the color. Like, if you look at a lot of scenes, you can see that it progressively gets greener and almost
Hmm.
if it like towards that Joker tinge. Scenes in the bathrooms, and it's not until you're on stage with Murray at the end of the film where it is less of a warm tone to what you've seen on that show earlier in the film. So it uses
Hmm.
color and especially light temperature really well
Hmm.
to sort of portray where the film is at and in the space of the
Hmm.
character's head and how they're
Hmm.
doing.
Yeah.
Score, I thought they did a really good job with
Yeah,
sort
I
of
want to
setting the
talk about
tone
the
for a lot of
score.
the film.
I think the score it's really good. I think it's I mean it's a very it won the Oscar that year for original score, which I think is fair enough. It's a really
Yeah,
great score. I mean the bathroom dance scene is sort of the peak of the score for me. Like just
yeah,
that individual scene, it's a really well scored scene. I do like the bits of score where it's this sort of really loud, sort of like thumping, like it's a dun dun dun. Like when Joker's
yeah,
running and like he's running through the streets or something, and there's just this. I
yeah,
can't like I don't know how to describe it. It's just this loud, like abrasive, just dun. It's just a dun dun. Like I think the
yeah. Like
score
a
does a
really
really
heavy bass on the yeah.
yeah yeah like that I thought was really great. I think it's a very well shot film. I
Yeah.
think that in terms of yeah, just how it's shot, it's really well photographed. Just the way it will sometimes just sit in scenes, or the like, it's just like in the way certain scenes are framed. Like it's surprisingly really great. And from my
Oh
understanding, the
yeah, especially that.
cinematographer just is the guy who did the Hangover film, so it's not like like a massively um you know Roger Deakins esque figures cinematography. It's just the guy who did the Hangover films, which is not a problem because it does look very good. Like it's very well shot. I think the score, the film does use a lot of songs, lots of like songs about clowns, but it is kind
Mm,
of like they're all kind of obvious, and it's just like, well, it has clown in the title, so you're gonna use this, and it's just like, or songs about putting on a happy face or something.
severe
It's
lack
it's
of
just
21 pilots in this film. No.
it's just it's really like this is so like this film thinks it's so much more profound than it actually is sort of the main takeaway I had from
I was just gonna say to sort of tie it into the ending of the film. Something
it.
I remember watching the cinemas and thinking, "Oh, that's dumb," is the just trying to tie it back into. Oh, by the way, this is a film about the Joker and Batman exists in this world.
Oh
Is
my
like
god. Okay. This
because
is
when he
this is the thing I
kills the
mentioned
yeah
earlier that I
Thomas Wayne.
absolutely despise. Like I genuinely hated this. I fucking hated that we see Batman's parents getting killed. I'm like, "No, we don't need to see that." Like
It's so dumb.
it's I never this is the thing. I don't think we ever need to see a Batman origin story again. I think we have seen it enough times that we know it by now that we don't need
It's
to
like the
have that
Spider-Man
scene.
origin story.
It's
We don't
exactly
need
like
another,
Spider-Man's origin. We
and
everyone knows it.
that's
So
where I
don't
praise the
fucking do it.
MCU Spider-Man, which is very rare. that I praise MCU
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
I mean, if
I
you
don't
like
hate the
seriously
MCU Spider-Man. I just don't want. But like,
go,
I'm
yeah,
so glad
listen
we don't
to
have to
our
go through the Uncle Ben
Spider-Man.
shit again.
Yeah, listen to our Spider-Man episodes because Harry really rips into the MCU Spider-Man at some points in that episode. But I do think that's one of the best decisions they made was to not have the Uncle Ben origin because
Because
everybody knows it. Everybody knows
yeah,
that, and I think that, and
it's
it
synonymous with the
just,
character. It's the same thing with Batman. You say Batman, everyone knows that
yeah,
it's because
exactly.
Bruce Wayne's parents got killed coming out of the theater in an alleyway. It was supposed to be some random mugger, not because it was set off by the Joker. Are you fucking serious? That's so lame. Like, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, it's just lame.
yeah. I mean, yeah, straight up, I hated that. That's like the one bit that I will say there is nothing redeemable about that for me. Like there is nothing about like there was no need for that. We didn't need it. They could have at most I would have allowed them to see Bruce and his parents go into that alleyway and a clown follows them. Like that's still going a bit too far for me, but I can
It's
be
still
like
on the
fuck it.
nose.
But I can just about excuse it. But the fact that we see it, it's just like, no, you've gone too far.
Uh,
You've
yeah.
completely ruined the you've completely ruined this. You didn't need to do this, and now you've done it. And I just think it's unfair. I think it's genuinely just awful. I
Yeah.
hated it so much.
I
There was
agree.
no
That was my gripe with the end of the film. Was
yeah,
just that
and
like and you just ruined it from being a standalone story because you like it's almost like they just at the very end of the film had to be like, oh, by the way, Batman. And I was like it just felt so unearned. I know they talk about the Wayne family because they are the most powerful family, but could have left
mhm,
it at that. Like I don't. It just seems
yeah.
cheap and like an afterthought
Yeah, it's just like
and
what
out of
is the
place.
and the thing is this was made to be like a standalone film. Like this was going to be a standalone film. There wasn't going to be a sequel. It was just going to be this story about this guy called the Joker who becomes a symbol.
Could you
And they ended that with a fucking Bruce Wayne
Could you imagine watching the Venom?
becoming
Like, imagine going to go watch Venom 3, right? And then at the end of the film, we see Tom Hardy's character shoot Uncle Ben in a convenience store. I would storm out. I would actually, I'd get so mad. I'd get so like
Oh my
gutturally
god.
mad.
That would oh
And
my
that's what
god.
this film did to me. When I saw it, I just thought, oh, that's fucking dumb. Like, that's
Yeah,
so
it's
dumb. And yeah, it
yeah, it's
because the end of the film was sort of building to this moment that I thought that Murray moment was going to be pretty much the end of the film, and then it was building to this
yeah.
moment where the Joker spawns a bunch of other Jokers, which I think
Mm,
is you could almost run with the idea in a sequel that he is not the Joker, but he's just inspired maybe
mhm.
someone to be the actual Joker that we see in the, but it doesn't look like one they're going that way, and two it just seems like it was a bit sort of unearned. Yeah,
Yeah, it was I it was absolutely terrible. I thought it was an awful decision to make. It I hated it so much. There's no defending it. Like, let's just be honest. There's no way to defend it. It's just that ruins the end of the film. But
yeah,
yeah, I thought it was terrible. I didn't I and there's sort of that bit in the end when Arthur's in the asylum and he's like laughing because he sort of thinks about this funny joke and she's like, do you want to tell about it? And he sees Bruce like over his dead parents and he's like, you wouldn't get it. And I'm like, why are you doing this? You're setting up a film that you shouldn't be making. Why this is like Rise of Skywalker when they started to set up that Finn had the Force, was like Force sensitive or whatever. And it's like, what are you doing? This is the end of this story.
Yeah,
You can't.
Force
You're not.
curious. Yeah,
You're not gonna follow up this story. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Why? Like, I
it's
don't.
the exact same thing as the end of the Dark Knight trilogy when they act like that, like um, freaking Robin, where they try to set up Robin, but he's a grown man, and I'm like, that's so dumb. That's so dumb.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen, at the end of the Dark Knight trilogy, where they're just like, oh, well, what's your name? And he says, and he's like, Robin.
Oh my god. Yeah.
And I'm like, just personally, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, it was like 30 at the time, like too old to be Robin. Also, you're never gonna make that film. Like,
Yeah. It's just completely. It. Yeah. It was not. Yeah. This is not. Yeah. This is just. Just. It. Yeah. I don't even
it came
understand.
to give credit to the film. It came at a good time because the world was still healing from whatever the fuck Jared Leto's Joker was. But
Yeah, I mean,
what's
yeah, I will say this: Joaquin is considered like at least Joaquin is giving a good performance.
yeah,
Like he is giving
yeah,
a good performance. Jared Leto, I don't know what the fuck Jared Leto thought he was doing. I don't understand this.
it's interesting. He's like, I'm gonna
I
adapt the Joker and I'm going to become the Joker. And it's like, everyone's just trying to be
yeah
Heath Ledger.
yeah, like they are trying to. Yeah, it's like the Joker's this weird character now because of what happened to Heath Ledger. That there's sort of this like, oh, it made him go insane, and he died. I'm like, I mean, I don't know if I go that far. I mean, I mean, from my understanding, he just took copious amounts of drugs and just OD'd one day. I don't think the Joker, the him playing the Joker made him do that. I think it was more just a case of he just happened to take too many drugs one day and he died. Like I think
Yeah.
that's sort of what it is. I don't think it was the role. It's like playing that character that did anything to him.
He lost his
Um,
mind and had to take his life. It was like, no.
no, I think he was just on a lot of drugs at the time and mixed some things that shouldn't be mixed, and he died because of it.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we've yeah, I've talked about the whole method acting thing. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix lost a considerable amount of weight for the role. He's very skinny. He's a very
Yeah.
skinny man in this. It looks disgusting. I mean, it's the point, so
Oh,
it's
the
meant to
scene
look
where he gets
bad.
in the fridge, and it was like that. What a brilliant scene! How improvised that was, and I'm like, kind of. Oh, he took the shelves out of the fridge and crawled in it.
Yeah, I don't understand what the yeah, I don't understand what the fucking point of that scene was. Is that just what mentally ill people are supposed to do? They just go insane
Get in
and
the
just
fridge.
climb into their fridge.
It's like,
I don't understand.
honey,
It's such a
cool down when you
weird.
get in the
Yeah, I
fridge.
don't like that scene either because it's like, oh look
It
how
did make me want to
crazy
get
he
in my
is.
fridge. I was like, it'd probably be nice and cold in there.
It's it is starting to get hotter this time. Like it is been the weather's been mental. It was like cold and rainy the last couple of days, and now it's like quite warm and sunny. It's like what the fuck is going on with this
Yeah.
weather? Weird. Yeah, I don't. I mean, do you have anything else you want to say about the film, or
Not the
if
film
you sort of?
particularly. I remember watching it in the cinemas and thinking, yeah, it's like a solid 6.5, 7, and then seeing the reviews, and they're going
Mhm.
10 out of 10. It's gonna win all the Oscars. It's gonna sweep, and I'm like,
Yeah,
am I insane? Uh,
yeah,
I don't know. But I remember just being a bit taken aback by the public opinion. But yeah, I 6.5, 7. I'll give it a 7.
yeah. I give it a 7 as well. I think it's like it's good,
Yeah, it's a good
but
film. But
it's got a lot of issues. I mean, the issues are more down to the script and the writing more than anything else. I think
Yeah.
that's sort of the real issues. Um, yeah, it's uh yeah, it's not completely awful, but it could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot to yeah, there's a lot that happened that could have been so much better about this film.
Mm, mm.
S-
What was the
yeah.
comment that were made about the second film?
Okay, so the second film, I don't know if you're aware or not. It's going to be a musical.
Ah, no. Oh no, that sucks.
Do you not like musicals, Harry?
I love musicals, just not like I like Tick
It's
Tick Boom. I
yeah.
like
Well,
I yeah.
so it
I just don't
was
I don't know if it's gonna work for the Joker. It sounds like it's okay. That's gonna suck.
yeah. It's and it's not like they wrote because Lady Gaga's in it, and when I heard they were
Yeah.
doing a musical, I was like, oh, Lady Gaga's gonna write some original songs for this film. I was like, okay, it's gonna be interesting regardless of quality of film. But apparently, it's just a jukebox musical, which I think is a
Ah, what?
massive disappointment. It's
Oh, so there's just
like,
gonna be a lot of music in the film, and
yeah,
it's
it's
just
just
gonna be
gonna,
like,
but like, so Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga are gonna be performing songs like they apparently sang live
yeah,
on set. So it is going to be a musical, but a jukebox musical, which is I think a bit disappointing to be honest. I was really hoping that we
there'd
would
be
get
some
some original
original.
songs. Yeah, because I just wanted to
God, I
see what
really
those would
hope
be
one of
like.
them breaks out into some Kanye West. Just
um but basically Todd Phillips said he doesn't want to label the film as a musical. And he said, most of the film and the music is really just dialogue. It's just Arthur not having the words to say what he wants to say, so he sings them instead, which is
so it's
literally just what a
musical.
it's a fucking musical. Yeah, it's completely a musical. And then he said, and I've just found this other thing here. So he said, the musicals I tend to love are musicals in general. When you walk out of them, you feel a lot better than you did when you walked into them, and oftentimes you find yourself whistling the music from the musical that you just saw. And I guess I didn't want to mislead people because I don't know that you leave this movie feeling better than you did when you walked in. So I always think the term musical has a very like positive slant to it. So in some respects, that was kind of my retentance of using the term. It doesn't matter; it's still a musical. It's still a musical. I think it's
Yeah, that's
yeah.
like saying, well, I think animation films usually you like and they're pretty easy. So yeah, this film is animated, but I don't want to call it an animation.
Yeah,
Like,
it's this is literally a fucking musical, and they're just not. And Lady Gaga has commented and said, I think the way we so she said, I think the way we approach music on this film was very special and extremely nuanced. I wouldn't necessarily say that this is a musical. In a lot of ways, it's very different. The way the music is used is to give the characters a way to express what they need to say because the scene and dialogue is just not enough. Again, it's just a fucking musical.
that's like
It's
what a
it, like
musical is.
they are literally just describing what musicals are. Like I don't understand this. This is literally the definition, dictionary
Of a
definition of what a musical is.
musical.
It's fucking insane that they are going so far out of their way to say this is not a musical and then are literally describing the exact definition of what a
Of
musical
what a
is.
musical
Like,
is. Yeah.
oh my god, this is insane. I cannot wait to see this film though, because not because I'm massively excited for it. I just want to see what they do with this. I just want to
Yeah, that'd be
know
interesting.
what this because this is it's genuinely to me incredibly fascinating. Like this film, however this film turns out, whether I like it or not, it is going to be fascinating. Like it is going to be so weird because this is completely different from the first film. It's going to alienate a lot of people who loved that first film because they probably don't like musicals. Like they're gonna be they're gonna go in and be like, "What the fuck? This is a musical," and then leave and be like, "What the fuck? This new Joker film is a musical." Like
Yeah.
so I just understand how the only reason why I'm like I know this happened because the first film made $1 billion. So I think Todd Phillips was basically just given free reign to do whatever he wanted. And if they make a third one, I just would love more Joker sequels that are just completely different. So we do one that's like a slapstick comedy, or one that's like in space. Like I just like fuck it at this point. I don't care. Like, because that would just be funny if they just made more sequels and they just take different genres. They make one like a in space, or slapstick comedy or something. I think that would be just funny. Yeah, I mean, we're probably going to talk about this in the review of the year. I will have seen it by then. Um, I really have no expectation. Well, I don't really have any expectations. The reviews have not been that good though. The film premiered at the Venice Film Festival and it did not do as well. It's currently sitting at 63% on Rotten Tomatoes, which isn't, that's still a fresh score, but like just barely a fresh score. And I feel like that's probably going to go down a bit when it comes out because more critics will see it, and I can see it being really messy and having lots of issues
I'm
with
re-
it.
I'm reading a review that says Sigma. This is the most Sigma I have ever seen. This is giving me vibes of Sigma La La Land, but Sigma and Twisted.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a joke. I really hope it is.
My goodness. I am looking forward. Yeah. I I am looking forward to seeing this. Whatever it ends up being, I am looking forward to watching it because it is going to be something special. Regardless of quality, it is
Mm.
going to be something. Um,
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll definitely be
but
interesting.
yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say. I don't know if you've got anything you'd like to say, Harry.
No, I think that's my piece. I think that I will now have to go watch, like, a film to cleanse my soul and believe again in humanity. Might watch The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Oh, that's
Something
the
that
Ben
just makes me like
Stiller.
humans again.
That's the Ben Stiller film, isn't it? Or is
Great
that
film. Yeah,
the?
have you seen it?
I have not seen it. No.
William. It's an amazing film. You should give it a watch.
Okay. I
It,
will at some point watch it. Yes.
well, I think that's my piece. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode. Hopefully, next time you're on, we'll be a bit more into the film we're talking about. We'll talk about considerably a better film. Hopefully, again, no, this is a bad film, but like this isn't a
Just
Truman
a
Show level film. This is
yeah.
very disposable. I don't know if disposable is the word I use, but it's not. Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you all for listening to this week's episode. I hope you have all enjoyed it, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.